Maxxis might be best known for our mountain bike tires, but we also have deep roots in the world of BMX. Just like in mountain biking, choosing the right tire for your BMX bike is crucial for optimal performance. Let's take a deep dive into our 20-inch offerings with one of the sport's greats, the legendary racer, Barry Nobles.
Thanks, Aaron. Today we're going to talk about 20-inch tire selection for BMX racing. In the Maxxis BMX market, there's 8 tires to choose from, but for racing, we want to look at these 4. We have the Torch, we have the DTH, we have the Relix, and for some, also the Grifter. Let me tell you why. My go-tos are the Torch in the front, the DTH in the back. Some people like the Relix, it's a little smoother tread. Some people like the Grifter, which is actually a freestyle tire, but also works great as a front on the BMX race bike. But my size selection is a 1.75 in the rear and a 1.95 in the front. Some might say a 9.5 is a little fat for them, so the Grifter actually comes in a 0.85, so it's a little smaller than the Torch 9.5, but a little bigger than the DTH 7.5. So since we're on tire sizing, most bike disciplines has bikes with different gearing. Well, on a BMX, we're fixed single speed setup. So the tire size can determine how our gear ratio feels coming out of the starting gate. Let's say I run the average 44/16 gearing with a 1.75 across the board, the most average BMX gearing. Well, if I were to put the Grifter 8.5 or even the Torch 9.5, that's gonna make my back wheel taller, which in return is gonna make my gear harder to get going. You wanna have a lightweight tire so you have that light rotational weight. Any extra weight and bulk on those tires are gonna make it harder for the acceleration coming out of the starting gate. Now every gate is different depending on what track you go to. So I like to think the DTH with the horizontal pattern, no matter if we go from a perfect gate platform straight to dirt or to asphalt, it's always gonna have that perfect tread to grab and push us forward without losing any traction. Now in the front, I use the Maxxis Torch 20 by 1.95 tire. It's a little fatter tire, so it gives me a little more room to bite the dirt or the asphalt underneath me when I'm carving a turn. Now the DTH doesn't have that horizontal groove across the top. It's got that one solid bead down the middle, so it's got low rolling resistance. Now on the side, we have side grooves, so when you are leaning into a turn, instead of our tires going this way on the dirt, we have a groove to lean on to really make you feel like you're on rails when you're really carving a turn. Now when you're carving a turn, you want to make sure your front tire is always hooking up. If your front tire washes out, majority of the time you're never going to save it. Now if a back end washes out, you can kind of fishtail or drift that around and still actually save the race and stay out front. Now that we've covered my tire selection and why, let's talk about tire pressures and what makes the difference there. BMX tracks nowadays are pretty flawless surfaces to ride on. Unlike riding mountain bikes where you have roots and rocks and different terrains where you really want that tire to kind of fold to the surface. Well, in BMX, we want everything moving fast and forward. So I actually run 100 PSI in the back because I don't want any give. I don't want to snap in the gate and have a spongy rear end. I want everything driving straight forward. In the front, I also run it pretty hard, but I like to go 90 to 95 in the front. As smooth as tracks are nowadays, you do have bumps every now and then, so a solid front end definitely doesn't feel good when you have no suspension. So I like to drop that down just a little bit so there's a little cushion depending on how the track is. With that being said, these tire pressures are what I run on the perfect track. So sometimes if a track's a little more bumpy or it's a full dirt track, sometimes we want to have a little more cushion in that tire, especially the front, so we can really grab that dirt and still hook up. Because asphalt, you don't really have to think so much about your turning, but in dirt, you got to be a little smarter about it. And 2, these pressures are set up for performance only, not comfort. So yes, you go out to the track on these, it's gonna feel a little rough. But again, we want performance, we want that extra 1% over our competition. Maxxis tires have been my setup for the last 20 years of my career. I hope this helped you make your next selection. Aaron, back to you.
Big thanks to Barry for that masterclass on Maxxis BMX race tires. Between the tread pattern, tire width, and pressure, there are many factors to experiment with in order to dial in the perfect setup for your local tracks. To learn more about the Maxxis BMX line and all of our tires, Visit us at Maxxis.com.